Hi, good morning. This is Matthew Mickey. I will be doing our war game for today. And so let's start and get after it. Let's set the chart up. I just had to manage a trade. So that's why I'm running a little bit late. So we know that in the boot camp right now, we're learning the 4 steps, right? To put probabilities on our charts. And so that's what we're going to focus on. I'm not going to cover like the daily, the weeklies, or the live price component because we finished the live price component this week. And now we're going to go into the probabilities. And then in phase 2, we'll go into, which will start in like a week and a half, 2 weeks. We'll start going into how to actually build a model and how to actually properly position size and, how to figure out, is that model going to be, are the metrics of the model going to be able to sustain and survive the market environments, which ones they do great in when it comes to volatility conditions and all of that stuff, right? So first and foremost, we're not there. We're just going to do the 4 steps. And right now we see that the Asian markets sold and then it recovered, and the London markets sold, and it looks like we're going to recover it right now. But now we're going to use data to kind of show us what to expect. So we're going to say short true broken, short true, come over to the profile. We're going to say long, right? Because the 730 to 830 box, we just broke out of it. We broke out the high. So we know that there's only 2 possible scenarios that can happen between now and 1130. We can go up to, and then net off of one of these levels to come back down, or we can go up to stay up, right? And so the reason we do this war game is to figure out, what the game plan for both scenarios is going to be and how we're going to do it. All right, so now we're going to go back to the data, right? And we're going to see that there's a 60% probability of going false, which is going up and then down by 1130. And there's a 40% that we continue going up, right? So our job is to solve for both of these equations to be able to identify points that we can say is true, the 40% versus the 60%, or it's going for the 60% over the 40%. All right, but first and foremost, we're going to start identifying what it looks like to do both. So we're going to start with the 59% to go false, meaning go up to come back down by 1130. So we're going to start defining it. Well, London OU, which is above us, has an 85% probability of getting returned, and the time that we expect it to get returned is 9:30 to 9:45. And if we can't do that, the data drops off the face of the earth. So we know that this London OU line right here is a high probability as we break out, they get to that level, right? So we know that that is a target for the longs, and we're going to pay attention that can we come up here and then reverse, right? We're going to continue to define what this long fall scenario looks like. So from a high day standpoint, we can see that the high of the day is statistically in place. The high day is currently at 1800, right? And with the long fall scenario, it supports that high day and not making a new one. Right. So while we're here, we're just going to look at the true, and we can see that if we make a new high a day, more than likely we're going with the true scenario. And if the low of the day is in, and our current low of the day is at 2000, right? Which is kind of an anomaly because we know we don't have data to support that low of the day for the long true. All right, so that's a clue that's going to tell us, right? The next clue that's going to tell us, right, is if we get the long false, we can see we move up to start moving down, but we get into this ranging morning session condition, right? A ranging morning session condition. So if we know that we go up, make a major pivot, and then start heading down from a quarters in the live price approach, right? And then we start ranging, we can definitely understand that we're more than likely in that long fall scenario. For a long true, right? If we start just trending up and quarters are going up and like we can see some fuckery between 1040 and 1045, but we instantly recover, we can see that we're having more of a directional day to the upside than we were to the downside. So now let's go look at levels to the upside. All right. And so we know that we have P12 high above us, which has a 74% probability. We know that we sat here and ranged on the P12 mid, which is just the 12-hour. We ranged on the P12 mid for the last 3 hours, which indicates a ranging condition, right? So we know that that's been hit, and that our P12 high is where that 1800 is, and our P12 low is where that low of the day is, right? So which one has the more probabilities of getting hit, right, in this condition? Well, we can see that P12 high has a high probability, and if we don't hit it between 9:30 and 10:15, we more than likely won't. We see that that P12 low had the higher probability, but the highest probable time was between 6 and 7, and that the next higher probable time is we need to hit it by like 10:15 or when that long true state. All right. If we cannot hit the P12 low by like 10:15 and make a new low day, we know that we're in a long true state and that we're not going to come back and get below this 7:30 to 8:30 box, right? So now, what other levels do we have above us? We have Globex open, we have midnight, and this is midnight and Globex is measuring it. Can they get hit between 8 and 12 o'clock Eastern time? Right? What are those probabilities? And we can see Globex open has a 72, midnight has an 84. Midnight has a higher probability of getting hit by 9:30 to 9:45. And Globex, same thing, 9:30 to 9:45. So now we're starting to be able to define, right? These levels are high probabilities right here, and right here. And we can see that if we start like launching through them and we make a new high day, we saw that high of the day data supports that being a long true. The higher probability is to come up and then reject one of them and then come down. Or we go up to the next level and then come down, or we go to the very, very tippy top and then come down, right? So how are we going to determine from a live price element where we're at? Well, before I go into that, like let's go into distro. We know that over the last 10 days, the median range was 325. We've spent 210. We overspent in Asia. We spent on average in London based off the quarters distros. We can see that volatility is just normal. It's not increasing, it's not consolidating, it's just acting normal, right? We know that over the last quarter, New York won from 7:30 to 11:30. Medians was 1%, meaning we put 1% in, right? So we know that we can make a new high a day. We have plenty of distro to continue to reach these higher probability levels and then end the session near previous day low. And then the afternoon session, you can come down and wipe that previous day low. Now, if you did your candle science exercise, you know that this previous day low has higher probabilities than the high, and you know why, right? Based off of the action that we did around the opening price, the previous day opening price. All right, so that's what we're going to look for. So now let's talk about, right, how we're going to define from a live price that we come up to go down. So this is going to represent the 9 o'clock hour. And this is once these 4 steps are confirmed, we've locked in the major pivot for the morning. That can come between 9:30 and 10 o'clock, or 10:15 actually. We go up. This represents the 9 o'clock high. This is the 9 o'clock mid, and this is the 9 o'clock low, right? And even during 9 o'clock, 9:30 to 9:45, we're considering these steps, right? This is going to represent the 9:30 candle, 1 minute candle. Can price get below the 9:30 candle? Can price get below 9 o'clock's 50%? Can 10 o'clock get below 9 o'clock's low? And then can we put an instat high during Q1 of 10 o'clock? Now, we're not waiting for all 4 of those steps to trade. However, we are going to position size for a reversal because we are in a downtrending market since London, right? We will position size the way I taught you properly how to do that. But once we get these 4 steps in, we know that we've locked in the major pivot for maybe the rest of the day or at least until 11:30. And so, trade ideas, I've already taken my long trade to midnight, right? I posted on Twitter and the thought process behind that. Um, but I will be paying attention to 9:30. If it gives me a buy, I'll take it for cash flow only, right? But once we get to these levels and as we start executing this 4-step reversal, right, I will start taking position sizing for sells for the lower probability target at P12 low. But that's my war game today. Hopefully it was helpful and keep studying in the boot camp.